us. Because often we the Indians, especially after colonization, felt that whatever is there indigenous, whatever knowledge, whatever culture, whatever religion we have, they are all inferior to the things that the West has contributed. Whether it is language, whether it is knowledge, whatever it may be, we started feeling a sort of inferiority. Even the inferiority about our own religion came into the existence. That is why Chakravarti Rajagopalachari said, Swami Vivekananda saved Hinduism and gave freedom to us. But for him, we would not have gained the freedom and we would have lost our religion. So, this is the story. But we do not know how much this Upanishads has influenced them before the Swami Vivekananda went to the West. Those things I narrate here because before going into the study of anything, some eulogization is necessary. What is eulogization? Arthavada, it is called in Vedanta. We have to tell that these are the prayojana. Even in the Upanishads, these things are told. But by getting the knowledge of Atman, by getting the knowledge of Brahman, you will become liberated. All these things are so told. So people who are suffering in this world, what they will do? They will take upon this. They will start doing the practice. They start leaving those things which are causing them the misery. So these Upanishads are not just the philosophy, it is also a darshana, a religion. So Upanishads are the religion and the philosophy combined, and the Upanishads, the teachings of the Upanishads are the foundation of our whole religion. It's a foundation of the religion. So the Sanatana Dharma is based on this Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya Jivo Brahmaiva Napara. Although these are the words of the interpreters of the Veda, not the original Vedic text itself. So this crucial and initial role played by India for this spiritual culture happened in 1671. That's in 17th century it happened, when a French traveler to India, his name was Francis Bernier. He came here and he saw the translations of the Upanishads written by Darashanko. Who is Darashanko? He is the son of Shah Jahan, the Mughal emperor, and the elder brother of Aurangzeb, the infamous Aurangzeb. So this Darashanko was present. He was a religious person, a person of deep thinking. He translated Upanishads, maybe with the help of the scholars, into the Persian language. So this man took this Persian language translated, and the French interest in India's spiritual literature awakened by this event and received a big boost. And when Voltaire received the gift of copy of Yajurveda in 1760, the West opened its door to the realm of the knowledge of Upanishads. So from that day, the West became indebted to the East. And the distinguished French philosopher called Victor Cousin poured his heart in reverence for the Vedanta philosophy of India by acknowledging that it is the highest philosophy that mankind had ever produced. The glory of Indian culture, Indian contribution to the world, we do not imagine. Something has to be thrown from the far off, then the impact will be more. So when it was thrown from the West, that we got awakened to the knowledge of Upanishads, otherwise we would have been dormant. Then what happened later in that 17th century and further into the 18th century is Then among these, the French scholars, after opening their soul to the literatures of India, many people started reading that with all inquisitiveness. Because now it has to be translated into the language which they know. It was not in the Sanskrit at all. It was taken to the Persian. Then one fellow called Anquetil Duperon, he was in 19th century. He was in the end part of the 18th century, 1731 to 1805 he was living. He dedicated his 40 years of life to translate the Upanishads from the Persian language to the Latin language. So, from the the Sanskrit language to the Persian language, language to the Latin language, and after reading these translations of the Latin language, look at the people who are inspired. I will tell that. So, he did the translation of the second translation, you can say, second or third translation of the Upanishads, and the work which he did, the name was Aupnek. Maybe we don't know what is the meaning of that in the French language, which has the translation, the Latin language, which has the translation of Daroshenko's Persian version. Okay? And this Latin language translation attracted the people like Paul Dyson and Schopenhauer. Schopenhauer, you know, he's a great thinker. And this Latin language magnum opus Anquetil was published in the year 1801 to 1802. And this person, the impact of reading the Upanishads, what happens is that this person, Anquetil, I do not know how to pronounce that, it's a French word. This Anquetil, he was in a lot of penury. He had struggled a lot to translate these things from that Persian language into the Latin language. He was living in the poverty. He did this, and he died at early age, 40 plus age. After that 1801 or 1802, he passed away, being exhausted by that work. And in addition to that, no doubt that penury, that poverty also added to his longevity. It reduced his longevity. He could not sustain his body for that period of time. He had struggled a lot alone, a person alone doing all that, even including the printing. Sorry. So this Anquetil wrote, I live in poverty with 1/12 of the Indian rupee. That is, we call it as annas, no? Nalkani, Entani, all this. For his daily food, bereft of all worldly goods, all alone. That means to say, I have left aside the worldly good. I have renounced that, tyaga. All these are happening in his life because of he translating the Upanishads at the first level. And what further he says is really inspiring. With perfect peace of mind, I await the dissolution of the body, which is not far off for me. He is able to see his death coming near. That the grinding poverty could not unnerve the sage. We can say him as a sage. Anquetil could be seen from what he went on to write himself with unceasing effort, and it's the grace of God. So this is the greatness of those people who have done all this work for the sake of this other world, which had no idea of such transcendental thing which is beyond this world. So the Upanishads cannot inspire everybody commonly. You know, it is for the few. It is for few when it was written, when it was preached. It will be for few in the future, also it is for few now also. Many people cannot understand. Many people, even they understand, do not follow it. Kaschiddira pratyagatmanamaikshat avrutta chakshuhu amritatvam ichan. This is the truth about these Upanishads. Now all these great people, what they have said about this particular Upanishads, I will tell. Especially the thinkers of the West, the great philosophers. I named this Schopenhauer. He wrote a book called The Word as Will and Idea. He is a German philosopher, very great thinker, very deep thinker of the 18th and 19th century. He was influenced by Chandogya Upanishads. After reading the translation of Anquetil, he was inspired by Upanishads and especially by the Chandogya Upanishads. And he says that Upanishads were the most beneficial and elevating study that the world had ever produced, and that it has been the solace of my life. It will be the solace of my death. It will be solace, it is now the solace of my life, and it will be the solace of my death also. So when we are departing from this body, there will be a lot of pain. Sargepi nopajayante pralayena vyatanti chak, Shri Krishna says. Just like Ajamila called his son by the name Narayana, but Narayana himself came. Narayana did not come, these Vishnu Dutas, his emissaries came to take his soul. Well, there was a dispute between the servants of Yama and the Narayanas over that soul, who has to come. So that all is in the Puranic story. So, Antyakale chamameva smaran mukta kalevaram. That's what here the Schopenhauer is telling. That now I have this knowledge. I am filled with this knowledge. Purnamidam. That bliss of knowledge has engulfed me, and I am not at all bothered to receive the death as it is. This is a Jivan Mukta Avastha, which is experienced by the Westerners. So the Paul Dyson also, as I mentioned earlier, is also the contemporary of these people. He has also written the translations of many Upanishads. I think he has translated 75 Upanishads into the foreign languages. And there is the English version also. He says, on the tree of Indian wisdom, there is no fairer flower than Upanishads. And again the author Schopenhauer says, they are destined sooner or later to become the faith of the people. This is what Swami Vivekananda said, that the Vedanta will become the future religion of this world. That is his prophecy, and sure to become that. How it will become that, I will take in the end part of it. So, why and what is all these things I told? Why I am telling you? Because we forget our own treasures. We are sitting on the mine of gold, diamond, in the pearl. We are not going into the depth of our own sources, the fountainhead, Swami Vivekananda says. We have not gone into the fountainhead of our philosophy. That is Upanishads, not even Vedas. When we go into the fountainhead of philosophy, we can unearth a tremendous thing which is there at the store for our own benefit. Not only for our own benefit, it is for the benefit of the whole universe. This is a universal message. That is why Swami Ranganatha says it is a universal message of Bhagavad Gita. It is not for one person, because the Upanishads are not speaking of anything which is more than one. Everything is one for that. If somebody is suffering, you will also suffer. If somebody is enjoying, you will also enjoy. If you are able to see the Chaitanya in all these inert matters, you will become conscious everywhere. That pulsation of consciousness is everywhere. Today science is also parallelly moving with Advaita to prove that oneness. So what happens in this knowledge of many is we get confusions, a dilemma. We become fearful because when second person is there, we are afraid. That comes in the Brihadaranyaka, I will tell that. So further, a last few sentences I will add to this glory of Upanishads which has unified the West, and I will close this and move into the proper Upanishads itself. Not only in this 16th and 17th century the inspiration of the Upanishads happened. These are the real histories, and what I am going to tell you is a fact. Fact means it may not have happened. That is about the old Greek glorious time. You know, the Greek philosophy, Greece comes here in the Eastern Europe, the eastern side of the Europe. So if you pass Afghanistan after the Hindu Kush, what they call, no? Then Iran, after that Iran, maybe another one or two countries of Europe, then the Greece starts. So there was some communication, as the historians say, between the Greek and Indians, and the people try to, the Westerners try to say that the Greece philosophy influenced Indians, but it is certain that the Indian philosophical influence was tremendous on Greek. So when Socrates was there, he was in the 4th century BC. He was between 469 to 399 BC. He had an occasion of meeting an Indian philosopher in the course of roaming in the street of Athens. And he discussed with him. Socrates discussed with him. He was a man of much freedom, he felt. He's free and he's roaming freely, without any botheration, in a kind of bliss. And he found out he had the knowledge of Upanishads. Socrates and Aristotle, Plato, they all had what is going on they had the knowledge of what is going on in India. In those days, there was a tremendous upheaval of the hunger of knowledge in India. That was the formative stages of Upanishads, ending stages of the formation of the Upanishads, as well as the rise of Buddhism. So, he was ruled by the Upanishadic Agnivedana that humans, the relative, could be properly understood only in the light of an understanding of the divine absolute. If you want to understand this world, if you want to understand the human being, you have to understand these two things in the light of absolute divinity. This is what Aristotle felt after discussing with this Indian saintly philosopher. And we can see the influence of Indian scriptures in the writings of Plato also. In the Plato philosophy, he gave the idea of myth of the cave. That is nothing but the doctrine of Maya, the Vedantic Maya. You all know, no? Shankara philosophy of Maya. So his idea of myth of cave is something like that. It may not be exact, but something like that. And then his concept of nous. This also has the similarity to the Upanishadic concept of Atman, and his idea of omniscience is somewhat similar to the Jnana Yoga. Omniscience means everything is pervaded by one energy. So the knowledge of Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita has no barriers at all. They can simply travel in the space of in any space over any period of time. In those days, there was no aeroplane, there were no trains. Yet, the people have exchanged the knowledge like this. It is an extremely, an important thing to notice, that the knowledge which our saints had, we say that the Brahmins did not give knowledge in our own India. That is why the degradation come. If that would have been the case, where was the chance for them to give this pristine knowledge to the Mlechas, whom they considered as the Westerners? So these complaints are baseless. Whoever has the hunger for this knowledge, they might have tested. It has been freely distributed. So these are the series of the Western people who are inspired by the Upanishads. You know about Max Muller, who was inspired by Sri Ramakrishna's life. Swami Vivekananda called him as modern Sayana. He met him in England. He stayed with him. All these people, many people to name it. Let us end here. We'll come to the real crux. Real crux is the journey of Upanishads had already taken place. That's what I narrated all throughout now. But the real journey of the Upanishad started on 31st May 1893. You know what happened on that day? Swami Vivekananda boarded a ship in Bombay port. The name of the ship is called SS Peninsular. He took this ship to travel to America to attend the Chicago Parliament of Religion, and you all know about what he spoke on the 11th September 1893. So his journey started on 31st May 1893. And the real impact of this Upanishadic message started to hit the shores of the West on that particular day. All these centuries, whatever, to the extent it was traveled, a few people might have been inspired by that, translating from one language to the another, reading that language in that language. How much they have understood Sanskrit is very terse, whether the translations were true to that, we do not know. Mostly it has happened in a perfect manner by the grace of God. Whatever it may be, the travel of Vivekananda to the West on that day, that holy feet stepped on that particular day on the ship's board. That's the holiest day, we can say, for the Upanishads also, for our holy scriptures also. He took that ship, and then again he took another ship. He had to change the ship at Yokohama airport, Yokohama seaport of Japan. There they were the co-travelers from the Peninsular also, in the SS Empress also. Both Ratan Jamshedji Tata and Swami Vivekananda were the co-travelers. They discussed a lot about the India and the industrial and scientific revolutions required. That is another part. So both were happening. One side, the journey of the Upanishads to the West, the real journey, I can say, the impactful journey, we can say, and also the concern for the development of India. Both took place in the same ship, side by side. So what a visionary Swami Vivekananda was. So this is how all the things happened, and but for Swami Vivekananda, Mother India would not have blessed as much as it is blessed today. when Professor Henry Wright came to know that Swami Vivekananda had no credentials to speak in the Parliament of Religion, because the Boston was a cheaper city. Swami Vivekananda went from the luxury, costly city of Chicago to Boston. He met Professor Henry Wright, who was the professor of Harvard University, and he was a guest of this professor. And the professor was deeply impressed by the knowledge of Swami Vivekananda. And he asked the Swamiji, why did you come to America? He told that, I came to America to represent as a representative of the Hinduism to the Parliament of Religion. I came to know that you need credentials from some eminent people of India or somebody here. I am a fool, my followers are fools. They did not know all that. So what I do is, and it has been postponed. And for 3 months, I will be here and there, and I will witness that as a spectator and go back. Then Professor Henry Wright said, what? To ask you for the credentials is as if asking the sun for his right to shine. Then he himself writes a credential in that he mentions, here is a man who is more learned than all the learned professors put together. Here is a man who is more learned than all the learned professors, in comma you can take the learned professors of Harvard University put together. So this was the credentials was given to him, and rest of the things happened is a history. Why I tell is that when the Westerners comes in contact with our great saints, philosophers, and their works, and our scriptures, the genuine people really admire that, and they will express honestly that the Indian philosophy, the Indian saints, the Indian things are better than ours. T.S. Eliot, one of the famous writer who was acquainted with Gita Upanishads, he read even Sanskrit grammar to understand Gita and Upanishads. It is tough. Sanskrit is a very tough language, even for we Indians, and how much tougher would have been for Westerners, that too in those days. So he studied a lot, struggled to understand this scriptures in original. After considerably mastering Sanskrit and reading the Upanishads and Gita, he says, when I read these ancient sages, I see that compared to them, our philosophers are mere schoolboys. So this is what is, you can see the comparison, no? What Henry Rhodes said about Swami Vivekananda and what T.S. Eliot says about our philosophers. You can see the comparison. So Swami Vivekananda comes from the great sages of Vedanta. That greatness and that glory, when he expressed there, people felt that. People felt that energy and came to know, yes, India is great. The greatness of India is there, was there, thousands of years. It was covered in ignorance. Ignorance in East and ignorance in West. Because we did not give them at the right place. That is why Swami Vivekananda said, I have the message to the West as Buddha had it to the East. So he was the messenger of Vedanta to the West. Oh, the globe is one, universe is one. There is no East and West. We are all one now. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Even in a fraction of a second, I can send messages in the mobile to anybody. In a fraction of a second, we can come to know what has happened in the other places. So the whole universe we can travel in 1 second. So to this modern world, the only religion which can sustain the onslaught of this modern world or the challenges of the modern world is Upanishads. Now I'll give what is Upanishads, what is that. You all know that, I need not to tell. I just elaborate it in the context, in the course of discourse. We had to do some introductions, that's why. And some of you people may not be knowing all these things at all. I have told about the 10 principal Upanishads on which the Shankara has written the Bhashya. The Upanishads became so famous, Gita became so famous because of Shankaracharya's contribution. He systematized and to condemned, to criticize his philosophy, the other philosophers like Ramanuja, Madhva, Nimbarka, all these people took the same passages of the Veda. So he gave a stream, a portion to consider in the ocean of the scriptures of Vedas. So you all know the Vedas are 4: Rigveda, Yajurveda, Samaveda and Atharva Veda. Atharva Veda is a later addition. Earlier it was called Trayi, only 3 Vedas. Atharva Veda has the repetition of many of the Rigvedic passages. I will repeat again, some of the people entered now. So I will repeat what are all those 10 principal Upanishads? Ishavasya Upanishads, Kenopanishads, Katopanishad, Mundakopanishad, Mandukya Upanishad. Mandukya Upanishad is an excellent Upanishad which contains 7 or 8 shlokas. On this Mandukya Karika is written by Gaudapada, who is the Parama Guru of Shankaracharya. Guru of Shankaracharya is Govinda Bhagavatpada. So Mandukya Karika has to be integrated with Mandukya Upanishad. You cannot read the Mandukya Upanishad alone. You need Mandukya Karika's help also. For Mandukya Karika help, also Shankara has written the Bhashya. So Mandukya has to be read with Mandukya Karika. Prashnopanishad, Aitareya Upanishad, Chandogya, Brihadaranyaka, Taittiriya. This becomes 10. And one addition to that is that Shveta Shvatara Upanishad, for which the commentary of Shankara is available. So this becomes the 11 principal Upanishads. On this 11 principal Upanishads, other later philosophers of our Vedanta Darshana. This Vedanta Darshana is the end part of the Vedas, which are in these Upanishads, has everything in it. That means to say, if I want to interpret this Brahman alone is real and this word is a Maya, that scope is also there, that is called Advaita. And there is a quasi-dualism or the Visishta Advaita of Ramanuja. That is a combination of Advaita and Dvaita. It is not pure Dvaita or it is not pure Advaita. It has a triad of Jiva Jagat Jagan Niyamaka. That philosophy is altogether a different, story. It takes, several years of study. And this, what I am doing is just an introduction to the Upanishads and what are all they. So I cannot elaborate all that. So another is the Dvaita, our own Madhvacharya. He is called Ananda Tirtha. His philosophy is that it is only duality, duality, duality. The diversities are there. You cannot find unity in this many diversity. But there is a controller. That is Ishvara. That is Narayana for me. All these things are there. So the Upanishads gives the scope for all these things. You can infinitely interpret Upanishads because the Upanishads are teaching not about any God. It is teaching about the your own self. It is the Atma Jnana. It teaches about you. Nobody can refute or dispute or fight with you, because know yourself. Know yourself. That is what in Brihadaranyaka Maitri, to Maitri he says, Atma ava are shrotavyo mantavyo nididhyasitavya. First you hear these Upanishads, hear. Then you contemplate on this, go to the, try to analyze that with your intellect. Understand that deeply. It is in the Christianity is called Lectio Divina. You read not like an ordinary book or like a text or syllabus. You will not read like that. The scriptures has to be read in such a way. To read it, it is, you are reading it for your transformation, for your evolution, for your enlightenment, for your emancipation. It is not an ordinary. So a serious person, it has to be a serious affair. That is why this structure of the Upanishads is like a dialogue between Guru and Shishya. This is called Amnaya. Amnaya means parampara of Gurus and Sishyas. With the Veda itself is called Amnaya. It is given from one mouth to the another mouth. It is given from one brain to the another brain. So a person who wants this knowledge has to go with a bundle of firewood. They call it as samittu. These who are initiated in the Brahmin boys into the Munji we call, Upanayana, and then they will do Agnikarya. For all these things they use the twigs of the fig trees like banyan tree, ashwatha tree, all that. That is called samittu. Samitpanihi shrotariyam brahmanishtam. It's an act that I will burn everything, whatever I have conceived, all this ignorance, avidya, the wrong knowledge, wrong notions that I have developed. I'm ready to relinquish them. Teach me something new. I'm like a cleaned slate, a clean mirror. So when he goes in that fashion, the Guru starts teaching the Atma Vidya. So it is the removing your ego, removing your false knowledge is like applying the silver nitrate on the glass. When you apply a silver nitrate and expose it to the light, the photograph comes and sits on that. In those earlier days, it was the way those things are happening. So the purity of the mind. The first eligibility to ask any question in the Upanishads is that you should be pure. Pure in the sense that you are seeking something which comes out of your depth of the heart. What are all those questions which came from the depth of the heart is told in the Upanishads. And Upanishads are not boring. There are many stories, very interesting. It won't bore you at all. And if you start reading, if you read Shankara Bhashya, you may get headache. But if you start just Upanishads with a simple knowledge of Sanskrit, it is so lucid, it is so poetic. The Rigveda is very poetic. It's all poems. Agnimile Purohitam Agnasya Deva. It starts like that. So you can sing that. They were all singers. The Rigvedic sages were singers. They were enchanted by the lightning, by the flood, by tsunami, whatever. Oh, how much of energy, from where this energy comes? That was the question. From there this energy, it gathers to produce such a lightning. Today we measure it is 10,000 volts or 30,000 volts. They had no measurement, but they were enchanted. The poetic heart is different from the scientific heart. The Kavihi Krantadarshi. He sees something beyond. So Rigvedic rishis were like that. So they tried to find out what is the cause for all this. So once they thought, It is a thought. The thoughts of the Vedas finally culminates into the thinking in the Upanishads. In that thought, they thought that for every effect there must be a cause. For the rain there must be a cause. And what is that cause? It's a God. God is the cause for all these things. Is it one God? No, there may be many gods. For the wind there is one God. For the rain there is another God. To lead all these people there is another God. For death there is another God. So let us call this Varuna as the god of the rains, god of the water. Let us call Agni as the god of the fire. Let us call Yama as the god of the death. So on and so forth in imaginations. And this is called Vedantic pantheism. Many gods came. So many gods came, sometimes quarreling with each other, sometimes quarreling with the demons who try to dethrone them. All this story comes in Vedas. Very interesting, very nice to read. It won't allow you to settle without reading the book to the end. And this Upanishads is the Sara of Veda. It is much more interesting and much more grasping and important. It is telling about ourselves. It is not telling about a God. You have to do this, you have to do this yajna, which is there in Karma Kanda of the Vedas. But not in the Upanishads. It is your own story. It is your own reality. Who will not relish it? Everybody will relish it. So this is how it has taken. In order to establish yourself firmly in the Upanishadic knowledge, you need some background of the Vedic knowledge also. Now when the time permits, we shall do that. We shall discuss that. Anyway, I'll end up with those. It can be a series if everything happens okay. And I will give you only the introduction now. Introduction to the series, we can say. So this important thing is the oneness of the knowledge, that we are seeing so much of diversity in this world. We need something on which, like this, we don't want so many gods. We want one Ishvara who will be the gods of gods. So finally the concept of Vishnu, Ishvara, Durga all came who ruled these people like Indra, Varuna, all those people. Like we see in the Chandi, Durga Puja is coming soon. So Indra Adistiti, Shakra Suragana Nihate Virya. Shakra means Indra. So Indra also becomes subordinate. This is the evolution. Indra was supreme at one time. Now he is not supreme anymore. So this is the evolution in the religion, evolution in the thinking. All this happens when we give the freedom in the name of religion. The Semitic religion doesn't allow this kind of freedom which the Indians enjoy. We would have been philosophers had we had been serious about the Indian scriptures. We do not do that. That is why we are like this, what we are. But there is nothing to blame in the scriptures, because scriptures allow you to do whatever you want. That is what Sri Ramakrishna came to prove, no? As many faiths, so many paths. How it happened? Because he was firmly established in the knowledge of Vedanta. Anyway, there is a narration, story, or in the Mundaka Upanishad. It is not a story, it is the narration of the dialogue between the two people. Shaunako havai mahashadao angirasam vidivat upasanna papracha kasmin bhagavo vijñāte sarvamidam vijñātum bhavatiti. Kasmin bhagavo vijñāte sarvamidam vijñātam bhavatiti. What is the meaning of that? I just want to know one thing, by knowing which everything is known. Don't think that he is a lazy fellow. He wants to know, it is a deeper question. I want to know one thing by which all the things are known. How it's possible? Suppose you want to know something about botany, you have to go to the expert of botany. Want to go to know about zoology, go to the expert of zoology. Artificial intelligence, go to the expert of artificial intelligence. And there it ends. They are all vertical lines. So each knowledge has its own field, and he is asking some unity behind every knowledge, all the knowledge. whatever is there in this world, the knowledge, he wants to know that one by which everything is known. So the idea of the oneness of knowledge was taught 5,000 years ago. And who is these two people? About Angirasa it is not told. Shaunako have Mahashalaha. Shunakasya Patyam Puman. His father's name is Shunaka, then it's a derivation, like Shaunaka. What is he? There is a Visheshana, that means adjective to him. What is he? Mahashalaha. Mahashala means, Shala means yajna. Shala means the place where the yajnas are performed. We say school, shale antivalla, school ge. Shala andre ondu shala, dodda place where there will be a pedestal made out of bricks and all, a big area where you can do yajnas, Vedic yajnas. And these Vedic yajnas are not for ordinary people. Ordinary people in the sense, not for those people who are lazy, who are not ready to work hard. It's a tremendous work. You have to collect so many things. We have to do very meticulously. You need the help of the people. You have to inspire people to help you. And you have to pay them. All these things are there. So it demands your personality as well as richness. So the Shaunaka was like this. Mahashala. He was rich to perform several yajnas. Mahashala means the person who has completed so many yajnas in his lifetime. That means to say that he has spent a lot to that extent. But it is like somebody like a great entrepreneurs like Ambani, Adani, they spend a lot, they gain a lot. The people who are not ready to spend, the people who are not ready to take any risk, they won't succeed. You have to take risk. So the people of the caliber of Shaunaka were there plenty in those days. So Vidivat Upasanna. Vidivat Upasanna means you have to come in a particular manner which is prescribed in the Vedas. When you want to seek something, you cannot come straight away with your shoes and with all dresser, without bathing, without washing your face and without brushing you can come, or without preparing your mind properly, nothing of like that. So in order to communicate that, Vidivat, the word is used. Samit Panihi, Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam, as I said before, that is the thing. Papracha means questioned. What? By knowing which all these things are known. So Shankara in his commentary says, for this sloka, Suvarnadi Shakala Vedaha Suvarnadi Ekatva Vijnanena Vijnana Mula Laukikaihi Tata Kimasti Sarvasya Jagat Ekasya Jagat Vedasya. I told Eka, it should not be told at all. Jagat Vedasya Ekam Karanam. So much of diversity is there, just like the bangles, then this chain, so many things are there, no? In ornaments. All the ornaments are made of gold. There is no difference. Suppose a small child goes, small child means not very small. A child which is a grown up daughter, you can say. If you take her, she will be very fond of all these things, no? She is growing. When she goes and then she is bored with that kind of bangle which she is wearing. So the mother or father takes her to them, then they say that you take this, then you make a different design to the goldsmith. We call in Kannada Aksaliga. And he takes it. He doesn't take so easily in the ages of rolled gold and whatever, gold plated things come. So what he will do? He will cut it, he will rub it, everything he will do to ensure that Every gram of it is a gold. Otherwise, he is not ready to become fool. He can fool others. He will not be fooled by others. Because he is expert. They are like Brahman. Brahman is a creator of this universe. But the Maya tu prakritim vidhi mayinam tu maheshwaram, Bhagavad Gita. I am the ruler of this magic. So, magician knows this is magic. But the spectators think that it is all fire, pigeon is getting burnt. All this he will do. So, similarly, this man is unattached to that. And he has the knowledge of gold. And this child cries, oh, my bangle is burning, my bangle is cutting. Then that Aksaliga says, Sumnirma, nan in hosut kortini. I will make a better design and give you. Why do you cry? So when we go to the master, when you go to a person who gives us solace, when he gives this kind of solace to us, hey, don't worry, something is happening in this world, no? From which you are troubled. Don't worry, everything will be all right, because you are that supreme power. Why you are lamenting? Why you are crying? All these kind of words we will see in the complete works. It's just a translation of Upanishads for the strength of the mind. So, read Upanishads. Imbibe the idea of Upanishads. The strength of the mind will come automatically. Because we are that strength itself. There was not even one second that we were not that. Tattvamasi. We are that always. Suddenly somebody shakes us and says, hey, where are you? Huh? You will say, is it not? We are there, but we have forgotten something. We are thinking, the bus has come, BTS bus, it is about to go, and your friend shakes, hey, what are you doing? Come, it is going. So this is the situation. A few seconds we will be unhappy in this world. Once we get back that knowledge, everything will be all right. Does he give this as the answer? No. He takes him roundabout. What is the answer of Angirasa? Angirasa says, Dve vidye veditavye iti asma parachaiva paracha. There are two types of knowledge in this world. What are all those two types of knowledge? One is the knowledge about your own self, which demands to know that, to experience that, you have to renounce some pleasures of the world. That is more painful to us now. But really, it is more painful to continue in that painful experience than to renounce it and say goodbye to them. It's better to say goodbye to them than to continue to experience the same pain, thinking that one day somehow my conditions will improve and I will come out of it. With these worldly objects, the worldly thoughts and worldly expectations, phala we say, we will not achieve peace. And such people only were like this Shvetaketu, Shaunaka. Many people come, Nachiketa, all these disciples, line of disciples. All these people are those people who already know what is this word. That is called Parachaiva Paracha. What you are asking is the knowledge of oneness is Para. It belongs to the class called Para. And another class is Apara. Opposite to that. Opposite to the knowledge of Brahman is this word. You want to enjoy this? I will teach some yajnas. I will teach some yagas. So that you will go to heaven. You will enjoy there. So much enjoyment is there. So people get attracted, give me that only. When the Virochana and Indra went to Prajapati, who is that Prajapati? The father of all, Brahma, Prajapati Brahma, the same thing happened. He goes, it says, go to a pond, see your reflection. What you see will be that, he says. Both of them go, they see the reflection, and then this Virochana was the king of demons, thinks that what this Guru told, Prajapati told, is that body is me, I am body. And he had dressed nicely, so he thought that I am body. So he did not go back to the Guru, he went away. But Indra was very inquisitive. He made him to come again and again for 33 years, and another 7 years, maybe some total 103 years he teaches about this. Adhyatma Jnana. This story also comes in Chandogya Upanishads. Aruni Shvetaketu Samvada Tattvamasi 9 times comes in Chandogya Upanishads. All these things, these stories, the principles, the philosophy, the knowledge that is explained there will take us to a totally different realm, gives us the liberation from this world. So hope by listening to all these things, you will also develop more interest in studying these Upanishads, either in original or in translation. May Sri Ramakrishna and Swami Vivekananda give us that kind of Meda Shakti, and also essential, whatever, a bit of renunciation required to understand the passages of Upanishads in all its right messages. We will definitely hope in future we will get more and more occasions to go through the scriptures in original with the Shankar Bhashya or other commentaries on that. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.